Are you gaslighting you? Welcome to Tools to Create a Better Life with myself, Glenyce Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful. We are currently in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada. It's so beautiful here, guys. I am sitting on our little deck. I really wanted to do this on the ocean, but the lighting is it just doesn't work. So here we are. Anyway, gaslighting. This is something that we've been talking about in this foundation so much that I wanted to do a radio show about it. Because what we often do is once we have tools to assist us, to change things, to get at a judgment, to whatever it might be, what I have seen myself do and many, many, many people do over the years is then actually use those tools against us, actually gaslight us. So we'll say stuff like, well, I know I'm the creator of my life and my living. So when that person hit me, what did I do to create it? Why did I create that? Stop it. That is a form of gaslighting. That's invalidating you as a being. Now, big picture, yes, absolutely. I do know for me, you've got to know for you, but I do know for me that we are the creators of our life and our living. But to look at something like that, where somebody hit you or abused you or was mean to you or any of that, we don't want to look at it through the lens of what did I do to make that happen. Please don't do that. Please look at, okay, so that was shit. What's required? It's pretty simple. And again, big picture, yes, I'm not saying you're a victim to them hitting you ever, ever, ever. But when we gaslight ourselves as a way to be more aware or to be more conscious or to be more spiritual or whatever it might be, that is so unkind. That is so unkind to us. So it really is looking at when you are talking to yourself, basically, what's going on? What are you saying? What is the conversation? Are you looking at how wrong you are? If so, that's a form of gaslighting. Now, also, we don't want to look for how right we are, because that's also other energies. And it really is never about being right or wrong. It's really about being aware and being present, and never, ever being a doormat. It's this idea that we are responsible for how people act around us or what they choose with regards to us. And so because of that, we're often looking for what we did wrong, what we did bad to create that in their world. And that can start from, of course, childhood trauma, and we can carry that on. And then once we add some consciousness, some of these magical tools to it, we really, really abuse ourselves with it rather than acknowledging what is. And that's always the first step. You acknowledge what is. So if somebody chose unkindness towards you, acknowledge what is for you. So I don't mean you need to go talk to them about it, maybe, but that's not what I mean when I say acknowledgement. It's acknowledge, like, wow, they really chose to be unkind. Acknowledge it for you, because that's usually the first step we don't take. We go straight to, what did I do? What did I do to create that? What did I do to make that my problem? To make that, about me, to make that personal. So first step, you want to acknowledge what they chose. And then whatever actions required. In some cases, it actually is to have a conversation with them. Now, some people, that's not going to be the case. We really have to be aware at these times. And I don't mean conversation like, you were unkind to me and you shouldn't do that and you're wrong. That's not the conversation. Sometimes with some people, again, if they're open to it, if that's where the space is, it could be like, hey, when you said that, what did you mean by it? Could get curious with it. That's been my experience. The more that we actually go in from a curiosity with that conversation, rather than you did wrong, there can be way more space to actually converse about it. And I had that recently with a friend, and they said something, and I questioned them in the moment, and there was a group of people around, so it didn't go very well. And so I waited until later when the group of people were gone, and I questioned them again about it. But really from curiosity, really from spaciousness, not from defense or judgment or upset, but curious, like, what did you mean when you said that? And even the second time didn't go so well, but the third time, and actually it was them that brought it up on the third time, there was more space to have a conversation. There was more space to converse about it. So instead of looking at what I did wrong in that situation for them to make this comment, I really just went straight to, actually, that doesn't work for me. That comment does not work for me. And what's required? Took 3 different conversations about it, and that's okay. I could have bulldozed in. I could have, like, right the first time I said something and it didn't go well. I could have just kept bulldozing and pushing and forcing. I just was really aware that wasn't going to change anything. And in that energy, I was probably going to match it. I was going to be defensive and you are wrong and all of that. And I just know that that doesn't create what I would like. So rather than looking at how wrong they were or looking at how wrong I was, I just knew we were going to have a conversation about it. And it might have taken 30 times, it doesn't matter. We were going to. This person's also receptive to that conversation. So like I said earlier, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it will be a situation where you won't actually be able to take it any further for whatever reason. But then just acknowledge it for you. Wow, they chose to be whatever. They chose to be unkind. They chose to be a jackass. They chose to be mean. And a lot of us won't even go there because then we feel like we're judging that person. No, we're not. If we acknowledge what is in the moment. Now, here's where it goes to judgment. They're always a jackass. They're always mean. Now that is judgment because nobody's ever always something. But if we call it like it is in the moment, acknowledge it for ourselves, that is the freedom, my sweet friends. That is more freedom than you could ever imagine if you've never chose it. And I know this because I didn't choose it for so many years. I spun in things, I dissected things, I figured out how, I tried to figure out how I created it, what I was doing bad or wrong to make them choose those things. And it's like, stop it. That is so unkind to us. That is gaslighting. So how to change that gaslighting? 1, start acknowledging what is going on for you. Don't need to post on social media about it. Just acknowledge it for you. That's step 1. Get out of the idea that it's your fault or you created it, or try to figure out, and I call mentally masturbate, why you created it, why it happened, like all of that. Stop it. Acknowledge what is. And then if you struggle with that, if you're like, oh, but I can't say they were a jackass because, they were doing the best they could, and stop that too. You are once again gaslighting you. People choose what they choose because they choose it. That's it. Nothing else. I know we love to give reason and justification. I know we love to say, no, they chose it because they had a tough childhood and this happened and they're tired. Oh my gosh, I used to use that one with hubby all the time. I'd be like, oh, he's like this because he's tired. No, he's choosing what he's choosing because he's choosing it. And I don't have to be a doormat to it. I don't have to judge it either. I don't have to gaslight me about it. I can acknowledge what is, and then I can take whatever action in that moment is going to create more. And I'm going to say it's simple. I'm not sure that's the best word because simple doesn't, no, yes. But if we choose it, if we just go to the acknowledgement of it and we choose to stop mentally masturbating about it and we choose to take whatever action is going to create greater. In some cases, it might be just that you leave the room. That might be the only action you can take. Cool. Go do that. Go do something fun. And then if you go into that place of, okay, what did I do to create this? What's wrong with me? All of that. Just stop. If you're visual, imagine a stop sign in your head every time you start going there. And then a great question you can ask in that moment is, truth, am I distracting myself with this? You will be. That mental masturbation, guys, that's distraction. And then as soon as you ask that and you get a yes, then you just ask, what can I add to my life today to change this right away? So that you get out of that. Because if you have too much time, if you are in any way, shape, or form bored, you will create drama trauma. This is what we do. We are insane So we want to be adding to our life constantly. And I don't mean adding more work or adding more stress or adding more things to do, but adding. That might be taking up a dance class. That might be having a nap. That might be adding a new business or a new revenue stream or something. There's lots of different things, but we want to be in question. Like, what could I be adding to my life today to change this? And you could finish that question with anything. Just what could I add to my life today? You could finish there. And one of the gals in the class, her name is Kim. She's the host here in Nova Scotia, and she words it, who or what could I add to my life today? And I love that, because how many more playmates, as I call them, could we be adding that might be fun? So with that, depending on when you're watching this, my sweet friends, we have the pool party, the final pool party at our acreage. Yes, we have accepted an offer and we'll have to be out of there June 28th. Oh my goodness. So final pool party at our acreage will be, bars is June 21st, and then the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and half of the 25th, foundation is now 3.5 days, is foundation. So come and play, guys, and bring your swimsuit, because I am going to be loving up that pool every moment I can until we move. So come and play. So just a little recap with all of this. When you catch yourself gaslighting you, when you catch yourself trying to figure out what you did wrong to create somebody choosing something unkind or mean or upsetting or whatever it is, and you go down that rabbit hole, stop. See a stop sign if you're visual. Whatever you need to do, stop. Acknowledge what they chose. Know that it is not judgment, unless you're saying they are always mean to me. That's judgment. They chose to be mean in that moment is an acknowledgement. Just acknowledge it for you. Okay, they chose to be mean. Every one of us have chose to be mean at some point or another. How do I know? You've been mean to you. Now, maybe you've never been mean to anybody else, but I can guarantee you've been mean to you. So acknowledge what is. They chose to be mean. Okay, what's required? Again, sometimes it's going to be a conversation. Sometimes there's nothing that you can say. You just know that that's not a doorway that's open, so to speak. So what's required? What do you require for you? Maybe you leave the room, depending on the situation, whatever's going on. But we really want to look at that unkindness to us that we do when stuff goes on. And you've heard me, if you've been around for a while, you've heard me talk for bazillion radio shows about how we're not a victim. And I am not saying we are a victim. I'm not saying that we aren't the creators of our life, because I know that we are. It's when we use that against us to gaslight us. When we put all of our creative energy into trying to figure out what we did wrong, or how bad we were, or why we created that thing from that other person. No, stop. Acknowledge what is, and then what's required. Keep it simple, my sweet friends. Keep it simple. All right, have a great week, and I look forward to chatting again next week.